I'd like to welcome you to the Salt Creek Museum. We have here 10 rooms full of wonderful history of the Salt Creek Oilfield, going back into the late 1880s. Pauline Miller Schultz, in 1934, saved a pen and an inkwell from her high school desk. She asked her teacher if she could have it, and the teacher said yes. But why would you want that, Pauline? And Pauline's response was, because someday I want to have a museum. So she saved things and saved things and saved things her entire life. Her husband, Walter, was a very large man. She was short and kind of feisty. And he'd say, Pauline, why are you saving all this old stuff? Pauline's response was, because, Walter, someday it's going to be important. And there's evidence there in the corner of Pauline's reward when she went to Washington, D.C. and received the National Humanities Medal for History from President Bush, a culmination of a dream. Pauline had a great knowledge of the oil field, and she realized how important it was to have that information available and have memorabilia here that people could enjoy that's related to the oil field industry and to the people who work here. We have up here the pictures of some of the early camps that existed here in Wyoming or in Midwest. This is Dutch camp, this is Canadian camp, that was the electric plant camp. Down here we have Lewis camp. You notice that all the houses are stereotyped. The size of the family determined whether you got a 2-bedroom home or a 1-bedroom home. We didn't have to do anything much to maintain the properties. We needed to keep our yards green in the summer and mowed and keep the sidewalks shoveled in the winter. And until 1960, the company took care of all the maintenance to our houses. Cy Iba, this gentleman here, was a Pennsylvania oil millionaire who came through Wyoming in the late 1880s, and he was on his way to the California gold fields to make a few more millions, I'm sure, when he saw the oil, which actually literally seeps up through the shale, and he recognized that it was the same high quality of oil that he had made so much money on back in Pennsylvania. So in 1889, Cy Iba came back to Wyoming and brought Philip Shannon, who was a driller, and that was when they drilled the first well here in the Salt Creek Oilfield up in the very northern portion of the field. This is a map of the Salt Creek Oilfield, the northern border here up by the electric plant, and then it goes clear down to close to the U.S. Naval turnoff here. There were at one point 60 camps all around. The population of the field was 12 to 15,000 people in the mid-20s. Here we have an example of the soil. We have bentonite soil here. And this is what happens when it gets wet. This is a seismograph truck who moved on to a new location, tried to do so in the mud, and you see that he's very buried. So they sent a tractor out to get the truck, who's also stuck. Then they sent the mules out to get the tractor, and they're stuck. So the moral of the story is stay out of the mud. This is a nitroglycerin truck. They took the nitroglycerin out into the field where they would pack their tools and drop the explosive down into the ground to produce a gusher. And that's how they started the flow of the oil. Nitroglycerin is highly flammable, and it's very sensitive. The definition of a nitro truck driver is man who dies quickly, because all it takes is one bad move and it's nothing but a huge explosion. This is the tool room, and in here we have a wide variety of oil field tools, and we have pictures of significant people. That is a picture of the 3 men who welded the first pipeline between Midwest and Casper, 44 miles, and that's the tool that they used. The pipeline wasn't able to be used until 1912 because, understandably, there were some problems along the way. This tool right here is called a yellow dog. And what it is it's actually a night lantern. They would put wicks in each one of the spouts on this teapot-looking thing and then light it, and that's what they used to light their work areas at night. They asked, why did they call it a yellow dog? Their response was, well, because it looks like the yellow eyes of a dog. This is one of the early centrifuges. This particular tool is still in use, but this is a centrifuge that they would use to separate the oil, water, dirt. The only difference between this one and the one they use is that the new ones have markings, measurement markings on the beakers. These here are core samples from each of the formations here in the Salt Creek Oilfield. And what they do with those core samples is they have a reader. This is one of the older readers, and they would put that core sample into this compartment. There's a door on the other end there, and they put it in there and turn it on. And with the fluorescence, they would be able to see what is contained in this core sample. They would use these samples and the readings they got from them to decide whether that was a good location to drill for oil. I guess having this treasure in this small of a community just proves that the history of a place is an important thing. No matter how many people live here, it's still important. I have people who come here to the museum from all over the world, and they're totally amazed at the collection that Pauline amassed and saved for us.